Do you reckon that right now you could guess the air miles of the food that you've recently bought? Because I'm starting to get really worried about the impact of the food that I'm buying. Even recently in the supermarket, I've bought apples from South Africa and blueberries from Peru. And the thing is, the emissions produced by the ships and the planes that take that food from where it's grown to where we buy it here in the UK will impact climate. I've got to ask the question, how do diets like mine go on to contribute to issues like climate change? We hear more and more how the solution to this is to buy more local and seasonal food. I don't know where I'd go to buy that kind of food, and even when I do see it, it tends to be quite pricey. So I'm going to set myself the challenge of buying only local and seasonal food for 1 week for the same price as my normal weekly shop. And based on a 2016 report, the average UK individual spends £25.82 a week on food. Now I'm going to set this counter to 0, and over the week I'm going to add up what I spend and see if I can keep my local and seasonal diet in budget. Day 1 of the challenge, and I'm just on my way to my normal supermarket to see how much local food I can find to get me going at the start of the week. So I'm home and I'm back to my first local shop. That was actually really quite challenging. Now I thought it'd be easy enough to find lots of food that was locally grown in Scotland, but today in the supermarket, even finding food that was grown in the UK proved to be a challenge. Now, so first on the shopping list today was fruit and veg. And when I went to try and find all the stuff I normally buy, and most of it was from either South Africa or South America, so in the end I opted for mushrooms, carrots, onions, beetroot and apples, all grown in the UK. By far, the biggest dilemma of the day came when I tried to buy milk. Now just now I tend to drink non-dairy milk. I went for the dairy milk. This is the only milk that I could find that was produced in Scotland, so this is what I had to do. And it's clear that eating locally and avoiding dairy and meat products in our food do not go hand in hand. So ultimately I managed to finish my shop with everything I need to have some good meals over the next few days. But to get here, I had to make a lot of changes to the original shopping list I had. I've added up everything I've spent today, and the grand total is £8.59. So far I've focused mainly on buying local foods, but a big part of this challenge is also buying foods that are seasonal. So for today's shop, I'm going to steer away from the high street supermarkets and look for more independent stores, where I hope to find a better range of local food that is currently in season. I found 2 great independent shops today, and the food in them is great. It's the freshest food that you could get, but you also get some really cool new things that you would never have found before that lead to some really interesting recipes. Seasonal meals like this are great. See, when I went shopping today, instead of going with a set list of all the different foods that I needed to buy, I went with an open mind and only bought what was seasonal and what was readily available. And as a result, I got such a cool mix of different foods that I would never have put together before, which have made meals like this so fun to eat. And for springtime just now, these foods are things like beetroot, carrots and cabbage. So after my shop today, the total I've spent this week has risen to £16.48. I'm doing so much better than I thought. I did think some of these foods would be a bit more pricey, but as long as you're careful with what you shop and you only buy exactly what you need, I don't think you should find any difference. Now recently there have been more and more sustainable supermarkets opening up in Scotland. So I'm going to head across town to go to one now to try and get the final bits I need for the week and hopefully stay under budget. But what I'm most excited about is speaking to the expert staff there and seeking their local seasonal food advice.
It's great to hear that you're doing a sort of local challenge. There's lots of benefits to eating local seasonal diet, right from supporting the local economy and local farmers, reducing the food miles, the distance that your food has travelled to get to you, and with that the climate change emissions as well. One of the great things about it is eating seasonally, which means eating carrots, cabbages and kale through winter is a lot more cost effective than eating tomatoes, which will have travelled a long way. I've made it to the end of the week buying only local and seasonal foods. So I'm just going to add up my most recent shop to my running weekly total to see how I've done. And I've done it! My total for this week is £23.32. So it is possible. You can have a local seasonal diet for the same price as the average UK weekly shop. Now I can't help thinking, sure, that's easy for me to say, but would everyone else have the same experience? A lot of the places that I've gone to buy this food have been in fairly affluent areas of the city, and I've had a lot of time to go and search for the best places to buy this kind of food. It's been quite tricky as well. I don't eat meat, and I tend not to eat dairy just now, but to complete this challenge I had to compromise on that and buy normal milk.
so it certainly isn't a perfect solution. But on the whole, even if you're just adding one local seasonal piece of food to your shopping basket each week, there's loads of benefits that you could see. I've got new recipe ideas and new types of food that I really want to bring into the food shopping that I do in the future. So if you do take on this challenge, my top tip would be stick less strictly to your shopping list. Go with what's seasonal and what's readily available in the supermarket, and if you do that, you're sure to come away with some tasty, healthy foods, and you'll know that you're doing your bit for the environment as well.